Okay, so quick question. When someone slowly vanishes from your life, no fight, no drama, just gone, what if that had, nothing to do with you? What if they weren't pulling away from you at all, but from the version of themselves they had to become around you? And look, be honest here. Have you ever rehearsed a conversation before a simple phone call? Felt weirdly drained after a hangout that was supposed to be, fun? Or felt that little wave of relief when someone canceled plans? Yeah, if any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And no, nothing's wrong with you. So here's what's coming in the next few minutes. What actually happens inside the mind of someone who goes quiet. The hidden costs. The grief nobody sees. The reasons they never ever explain. And listen, at the very end of this video, you'll get to know the one thing about disappearing people that almost nobody says out loud. It's not about other people at all. And once you hear it, you'll see every relationship in your life differently. But, and this matters, it only makes sense after everything that comes first. So stay with this. All right, reason number one, and it has nothing to do with disliking people. It's about what people cost. See, for most people, a conversation is just a conversation. But for a highly aware mind, every interaction runs on, like, multiple channels at once. The words, the tone underneath the words, that pause that lasted a beat too long, the question that was, let's be real, actually a statement. These minds don't just hear conversations, they process them, replay them, run the whole thing back on the drive home. Sound exhausting? It is. Psychologists call this, cognitive load, basically the total mental effort a brain is carrying at any moment. And when someone can't stop reading between the lines, ordinary social time comes with a price tag nobody else can see. So when these people stop showing up, they're not rejecting anyone, they're managing a budget. Every brain runs on limited energy. Theirs just gets charged double for the same hour. That's not coldness, that's math. But hold on, because if it were just about energy, they'd rest and come back, right? Reason 2 explains why they don't. And honestly, it's the one almost everybody misses. Okay, uncomfortable truth time. It was never the people that exhausted them. It was the acting. I mean, think about it. Every group holds a version of you it expects. The funny one, the reliable one, the one who never complains, never changes, never says the thing that makes the room go quiet. And at some point, an intelligent person notices something kind of devastating. They've been running scripts, different character, different room, all day long. There's actually a name for this. Researchers call it self-monitoring, adjusting your behavior to match whatever each situation seems to demand. Some minds do it constantly, automatically, brilliantly. And that's exactly the problem. The better you get at playing every role, the harder it gets to remember which one was actually you. So when these people disappear, they're not leaving people behind. They're retiring characters, one by one, because at some point it hits them. Being adored for a performance feels lonelier than being unknown. And that realization, it leads somewhere painful, somewhere nobody talks about, because, it doesn't look like strength at all. Actually, pause for a second, because this next part, most people get it completely backwards. Disappearing isn't always a victory. Sometimes, it's a funeral nobody attends. So here's what nobody warns you about. Growth has a cost. When someone changes faster than the world around them, something quiet and, honestly, kind of brutal happens. Conversations that used to stretch their mind now shrink it. Places that felt like home start feeling like, a museum of who they used to be. And here's the part outsiders never see. These people miss others they can't return to. They still love people they can no longer sit with. Research on personal identity backs this up. When someone's sense of self changes, old relationships can stop fitting. Not because the love disappeared, because the person those relationships were built for doesn't exist anymore. That's the grief inside the silence. They're not proud of the distance. They're mourning it, quietly, alone, while everyone assumes they just stopped caring. Look, outgrowing someone isn't betrayal. Staying and pretending you haven't, that is. Which brings up the question everyone eventually asks. If there's so much feeling underneath, why don't they say anything? No goodbye, no explanation, no closure. Why? Well, that answer puts you one step away from the thing you were promised at the start.
Okay, so think about every dramatic exit you've ever seen. The long message, the public announcement, the door slammed loud enough for everyone to hear. Intelligent people do the exact opposite. They leave the way the tide goes out, so gradually nobody can name the day it happened. Why? Because an explanation is a request. It asks the other person to understand you, to approve your reasons, to basically sign off on your exit. And this whole transformation was about one thing: no longer needing life to be approved. And psychologists who study boundaries put it in a way that's simple and, honestly, kind of severe. A boundary that needs the other person's agreement isn't a boundary. It's a negotiation. So they stop negotiating. Not out of arrogance, out of pure exhaustion from, asking permission to be themselves. And this silence, this exact silence, is where everything flips. Because it starts doing something they never intended. Okay, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Here it is. The thing almost nobody says out loud. The disappearance was never a test, but it becomes one. Because when someone goes quiet with no explanation, every single person in their life reveals what the relationship was actually made of. Some take offense because they lost access. Some demand explanations because they were owed a performance. Some spread theories because mystery threatens them. But a very small number of people do something remarkable. They let the silence be. They reach out, without pulling. They knock once, gently, and never rattle the handle. And those few, the ones who can love a closed door, they're the only ones who ever meet the person on the other side of it. Not the character, not the performance, the finished version. So everything you just heard, the energy, the acting, the grief, the silence, none of it was about ending relationships. It was about filtering them. The disappearance doesn't burn bridges, it weighs them. So, if someone intelligent has gone quiet on you, don't ask what you did wrong. Ask a harder question. Did you know the person, or did you know the performance? Because if it was the person, that door isn't locked. It's just finally being answered honestly. And if you're the one disappearing, you're not losing people. You're finding out for the first time who was actually there. When an intelligent person goes quiet, they're not closing a door. They're watching who knocks, and how. So, real talk. Have you ever gone silent on someone? Or had someone go silent on you and only understood why, like years later? Drop your story in the comments. Seriously, it might be exactly what someone else down there needs to read. And hey, if this changed how you see the people who left, the next video is going to change how you see the ones who stayed. Subscribe so you don't miss it.